couldn't be happier right at this moment. I mean, I could not be happier with that ball club. Now, you guys know I've been saying all year long how much fun it is to coach these guys, and no matter what, even when we were on that sort of multi-game skid, they came to work every day like professionals, and I couldn't be more proud of that part. You know, to do this, to come together and do this on a day like this, last home game, senior night for Kevin McShane, who is a really special person, and I'll address that in a moment, shows a lot about this team's character and their camaraderie. I mean, I was moved by it. Now, I'll tell you this. It is not my style to start a senior just because he's a senior. It is not my style. I used to be a player, and I always felt that if you earned your starting position, you earned your starting position. And so I was wrestling with starting Kevin until Angus Brandt walked up to me and volunteered his spot for Kevin. Now that speaks volumes about this team. And I hope your readers understand it with you, all of you articulate folks and great pros, because that's a lot. That says a lot about how we have developed this team and how they've come, I don't want to say full circle, they've evolved. And so you should know, I don't normally start seniors on senior night. Don't normally do it, but I'm glad I did this time, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Now, as far as Kevin goes, there is not, well, first of all, let me give you some background. I've been a head coach for 6 years now, 4 years here, 2 years at Brown, and then at high schools, at a high school in Chicago, but I don't count that, but as a college coach. And I've never had a 4-year senior. I've never had 4 years with a guy because I've moved around. And to have Kevin, who was here almost, he and Bill McShane walked into my office. I mean, it felt like it was minutes after I had gotten into the job. They walked in 2 days, it had to be 2 or 3 days after I got the job, to talk about Kevin and how he wanted to walk on. And, you know, I was one of these guys where I was like, yeah, I was being nice and politely listening. But after an hour and a half of talking to them, I knew he was going to make the team. As I told him, I said, listen, I don't know what I have, but you're welcome to come out for the team. And what you saw today was a team that played like Kevin McShane, played like his life. They just kept grinding all season long. And I'm going on a little long-winded, and I'll open it up for questions. But this was a Kevin McShane day from start to finish. From start to finish. The way we followed the game plan, our stick-to-itiveness, playing defense, and hustling for balls. I think everybody dove for a ball today. I mean, I hadn't seen that. And then wire-to-wire, man-to-man. Wire-to-wire, man-to-man. I mean, that's got Kevin written all over it. It's got Kevin written all over it. So with that, I'll open it up for questions for everybody except Brandon Sprague. So, yeah, that is cold, isn't it? You weren't ready for that one, but go ahead, John.
So what were your words to Angus when he volunteered his spot, and also to Kevin when he came out of the game?
Well, I had to play it cool because I wasn't sure if I was going to let the guys dictate the starting lineup. That's a slippery slope to get on. But Angus, I trust our guys. I really do. And Angus would never have put Kevin in a position where he would have been in over his head. You know, really, when you think about it, I think Kevin has started maybe 10 or 11 games his career here. I don't know. There was a while there where he started like 5 in a row, and then it's like each season, whenever we go into a slump, I start him and we bounce out of it. So that was the first thing. But I was really thankful for Angus for doing that. And it's just like, it's in Angus's nature. He doesn't care about anything but winning. He doesn't care about how many minutes he plays. But he cares about Kevin, and he cares about his teammates. So that was a big deal to me. And then Kevin would never ask me to start him for senior day. So, I mean, you know, you got all this kind of stuff going on behind the scenes. It's amazing that these guys played so well. with all the emotion behind it.
And did you know going in that you'd go man the whole way?
No, no. You guys have seen my game plan. The game plan is sort of, we switch our defenses around and see which one's working for us on the night. And that was the game plan from a defensive standpoint. And the first couple of possessions, I just liked the way our guys were running around and covering ground and contesting shots, even though it was close there. And it just felt good, and it felt like it does when we practice it. So we just kind of rolled with it. And you know, we chart what's going on, and it just seemed like they weren't having an easy time getting their shots off, especially their threes, so we just stuck with it.
That stretch where Ahmad went off in the second half, what does that say, one, about how dangerous he actually can be as an offensive player, and two, how sort of the cohesiveness that you played with in the second half, you know, with the ball screens and the timing on the passes?
Well, you know, it was fantastic. Ahmad's performance was fantastic, especially given he didn't play in the first half. I mean, what did he play, 5 or 6 minutes in the first half? Maybe 7, 10 at the most. That was what had my mind going, and all I said to him in the locker room was, well, you've had plenty of rest, so you should come out fresh. You gotta, don't hold back. That's all I said. I didn't say anything else. But for a guy to sit and get cold like he did and come out and heat up the way he did was terrific. But I gotta tell you, I'm not surprised. I know a lot of people think that a small point guard should be more of a setup guy, but not that guy. He has got a killer's instinct when it comes to big plays, and I've seen it in high school. I saw it with his AAU team. I saw it with his, you know, 8th grade AAU team before I even got into coaching, or 6th grade AAU team before I started coaching in college. He's just got that ability, and you guys probably didn't notice this, but I saw a real growth in his maturity, because when a guy gets that hot, you don't tell him when to shoot and when not to shoot, and I didn't. But what I said to the team after we got a little bit of a lead, I said, you know, we have to make sure we grind these guys out. And there was a point where he came down, and there was a play we were running, and it broke down right on the first pass, and he could have shot it with about, I don't know, 30 seconds, 29 on the shot clock, probably a little bit less. And he passed it up, got a screen from Angus, and could have shot it again, didn't. Passed it, continued the play, got it back, and then banged a 3 deep into the shot clock. That's next level thinking for our team and for Ahmad.
Craig, for the team, I believe it's the 2nd winning season since Gary Payton's senior year. Could you speak to that a little bit? Is that a little bit of a barometer of sorts for the program?
Is that true? Where's Sean? Is that really the 2nd since Gary Payton? So that's, how many years is that? 20 years? 22 years. Wow. I hadn't even been prepared to think like that. That's a long time. But as I think I said this during my 1st or 2nd year, when you've had so much futility, there are going to be a lot of first cents or first ofs. So we don't really put a lot of stock in that. I'm happy for the program that we have a winning season, number one. I'm more happy that these guys over here are having a winning season, because they have really put in the work. When I can't get a, well, some of you guys have been to our practices after we have had a rough weekend, and these guys get right back at it, and they let me yell at them, and they let me make them do stuff over and over again, and every now and then we have a dust up or we have some pouting or something like that, but they're never coming with an attitude of, we're not getting this, forget this. I mean, it doesn't happen. And I mean, we may have had, Sean, what, 3 bad practices all year? 3, and they were usually on the road on a Friday where guys are tired, and so I'm more focused on the good feelings and that the program has, that the fans have. I mean, it's been a long time for these fans, so I'm excited about that. But really, those guys in that locker room are the ones who ought to be applauded. It's terrific.
Craig, strong finish, winning those last 2 at home. how does that maybe set you up with some momentum for the tournament and seeing Washington State again, another shot at that?
Yeah, yes. The momentum thing is important, and it's interesting. If we had lost, I'd be saying, it's not that won't have any effect. Now that we won, oh yeah, it's going to have some effect. You know how that goes. But deep down in my heart, I would have to say that I would rather go into Wednesday's game having won this game any kind of way, but having won it in the fashion that we won it today was that was more than I could ask for going into a tournament. But I will say this, to toot our own horns just a little bit, and I usually don't do this, but it is consistent that our teams get better during the year. Every year it happens. That's one of our, I think that's one of the traits of this program. We're not able to get guys who are pros coming in. Jared wasn't a pro coming in. Devon wasn't a pro coming in. Ahmad wasn't a pro. All these guys, they weren't pros coming in, but we develop them and they get better. So we play better at the end of the season. And now it's a 4-game. Now we got to win our next 4 games.
Greg, was the defensive effort these last 2 games the biggest difference this weekend?
It was big. It was big. And the only reason I'm pausing is, we have had a tough job of consistently putting forth an effort for 40 minutes. So those 2 things are the 2 biggest things. Our defense was terrific, but if our offense isn't any good or we don't do it for the entire 40 minutes, we lose the game. We've had enough of those close losses. 7 at 5 points and under. So I would say that defensive execution along with 40-minute consistency are the 2 most important things that I saw this weekend, both Thursday and Saturday.
You said at the beginning of the season one of your goals was to make an NCAA tournament.
Right.
The guys in the locker room, big momentum these last 2. Do you think you can make a run at this thing?
We do. The league is set up so anybody has a shot. Anybody has a shot, and I think we have just as good a shot as anybody if we play like we did these last 2 games. And we play like we did in the non-conference. If we do that, we're a hard team to play against. I'll be the first to admit that. I don't want to sound, faint, phony type praise. I like this team. I like the fact that every game that I get to coach, I feel like I have a chance of winning. This is the first year we can do that in the 4 years I've been here.
On a totally unrelated note.
Yep.
President Obama had an interview with Bill Simmons and said that your daughter Leslie is the most athletic person in the family. Did you hear that?
Oh yeah. Are you kidding? The whole country heard it, and he really put the pressure on her. This will make her have to really start working. So that was a nice compliment. But he was talking like an uncle, not like the president. So.
Did you hear he said Corvallis instead of Corvallis?
Oh no, I did not hear that. That's all right. I'll straighten him out.
Anybody else?
Brandon?
Did you cry during Kevin McShane's senior moment? I saw some tears.
Did I cry when?
When Kevin's senior, moment was going on?
Not only did I cry, I cried before I even got to Kevin because the pregame speech was hard for me. Because I had to tell him that Angus gave up his spot so he could start. Here I go. Geez, I don't know what's wrong with me. It was unbelievable. But it really hit me when Kevin's dad hugged me. He hugged me so hard, I think that's why I was crying. But Kevin really represents what you strive for in this job. Student athlete who cares about his schoolwork, he cares about his basketball, he cares about his teammates, he cares about his family. So I was completely emotional wreck today. For those guys that come out and play the way they did, given how much of a mess I was. I was a mess. I could hardly say anything to him. I was, maybe I'm getting too old, I don't know. But what it shows is they all care. Our staff cares. We all care about each other. That's what I attributed to it. And I probably lay some of the blame on you, because I probably wouldn't have thought about crying until you asked me that earlier in the week if I was going to cry. I was trying the whole time, I can't break down in front of the guys, but it was really emotional. It was really emotional, and it was nice that we won it. It was nice that we won it. You couldn't ask for a better day.